Well, hello, and welcome to Bio 211. This is Chapter 1, and we are looking at the meaning of anatomy and physiology, as well as the organization of the human body and some of the properties inside of it. Inside Chapter 1, we're going to go through these, as well as these other ideas, but before I get going here, I feel it is my responsibility to help you be successful in this class. So this is part of I guess you can call it a flipped classroom, where I make a series of videos, and I expect you've read the book and you have watched the videos, and you come in prepared to discuss things. And it's not necessarily something that students are comfortable with, so it may take a little bit of prodding and poking and all of that sort of stuff, but that is what we're going to do. So overview would be that one, you read text. And what you don't understand, hey, that's a pretty good question. Number two, watch these YouTube videos. YouTube vid. And then three, which is of course the hardest part, participate in class. You don't get graded on participation. That's sort of like the baseline. It's like you're breathing. You're there. You're trying to figure this stuff out. And if you're approaching this class, Bio 211, a sophomore level college class at a community college, where the propensity is to go, oh, I don't need to know anything, then you're going to find it to be very difficult. I would hazard that what you really want to do is ask yourself, how much am I going to use this information for the rest of my life? And the honest answer to that is the rest of your life, especially if you stay in any of the medical fields. Okay? If you just take a look at what we're talking about here. What is anatomy? Okay? Do you know all parts of anatomy right now? And if the answer to that is yes, well, then you don't belong in this class, so get out now. Physiology. I have had enough experience that most people don't know any physiology at all, but they ask themselves, when am I ever going to use this? And of course, the physiology is where we design all of the drugs that are keeping you and your loved ones alive, even if you don't believe in drugs. Organization of the human body and properties. This represents the fact that Mother Nature has given a lot more thought to this than you have, and there are patterns. And those patterns are your job to learn, to see, to figure out a way to see. Okay? And those patterns are repeated throughout all organisms on the face of this planet. Humans aren't special. You're not special. And this class isn't necessarily designed to remind you that you're not special, but this class is here to help you actually learn what those patterns are. But because you are not special, and we can pretty much break you down in the fact that you're nothing but a bag of salt water, and that tends to hurt people's feelings. So, my usual answer to that is big deal. But I suppose I should probably say to you that that bag of salt water has a series of rules. And those rules, you have to learn. Rules that you need to learn. And that's the purpose of AMP1. Do you have the discipline to actually learn how you're alive right now? At its most fundamental level. And we're not teaching you brain surgery here. We're teaching you, can you pay attention? Can you learn large bodies of information? And once you've learned them, can you apply them? Because the reward for learning large bodies of information isn't what you've experienced before. You have to learn how to apply them in this class. Okay? Of course, the place we start is basic vocabulary. And everybody thinks they know all the words they're going to learn in their lifetime, which is, of course, not the case at all. And basic vocabulary, of course, is anatomical. Let's see if I can figure this out. I am not atomic. Well, that's kind of cute. You'll see why in a minute. Okay. Anatomy. Okay, there are two branches that deal with the body's parts and functions. The first is the science of the body structures, the, thousands, 2,000 plus years that we've recorded of cutting open human bodies and looking at the fact that, hey, for the most part, everything's where it's supposed to be. And it's there for a reason. And you want to figure out why that is. Okay? Obviously, these days we have a lot more technology that actually helps us figure out what's actually going on inside the body. But in reality, essentially the major difference is, of course, you're either looking from the outside. Tech helps look from inside rather than actually seeing everything from the outside. Those are 3 basic skill sets, hopefully 1 or 2 of which you'll learn this semester. Physiology has been the last 150 years worth of discovering how it is the body functions. Notice there's a major difference between looking at things and saying to yourself, oh, I think that's a humerus, versus I know the Krebs cycle. Okay? And when you say I know the Krebs cycle, you actually know the function of the Krebs cycle. What subcellular organelle did it come from? And when did we actually acquire that subcellular organelle? And what is it doing? Okay? So the science of the body functions itself always tends to be the hardest part for this class. Okay? You have to love, I should say, you have to have some curiosity. You don't have to love this material. You should have some curiosity about what makes you work. Why when you wake up in the morning your eyes move a specific way. Why when you inhale a specific volume of gas comes into your body. All of these things are required. Okay? And if they don't happen, you don't happen. Okay. Structure and function. If you've paid close enough attention to the patterns of the universe you live in or the world you live in, regardless of your faith, makes no difference. There's a structure and a function of the body that are closely related. Okay, bones of the skull provide protection to the brain. Fantastic. But how do those bones stick together? Have you ever thought about that? What do they actually do? There are thin sacs of the lungs. These are air sacs, of course, that allow gas to actually enter into the bloodstream. But the part that always people forget is that, of course, gas also exits. Gas, question mark, which one? Exits the bloodstream from the lungs. Okay? So enough of the sort of make sure you do your homework, because it's going to be expected from day one you've done your homework, and, that's all there is to that. Okay, so how are you actually organized? Depending on how you look at yourself as a human being, you could work this backwards. There's you think yourself as special, and inside of you, you have a series of organ systems. There are 11 organ systems inside of the body that actually have unique responsibilities. Here they have the digestive system for you, and you know that is to ingest material to make ATP. Let's write that down. So you get that at very first day. ATP. And you're like, but that's not where ATP is made, because you've learned that ATP is made inside of a cell. Well, we don't get to cells till we're way the hell over here, so why does Mother Nature do this? Inside that organ system, there are unique responsibilities for every single one of those organs. And if you don't get that job done, well, the organ system fails. And if the organ system fails, then the organism fails. Within the organ itself, there are specific tissues. There are 4 groups of tissues inside of your body. There's epithelia, E. And there is, over here, I'm going to put connective tissue. CT does not stand for calcitonin in this moment, or Connecticut. It's connective tissue. Over here, we're going to have nervous system. That's an N, not a W. And over here, we're going to have muscular. And that's the way you break up tissues inside of the body. There are 4 types. Now, chapter 4 is all of those types. Okay, so at an introductory level, it's not like you're learning actually what's going on inside every single one of them. This is, if we're just sort of at an introductory level looking at these things. Obviously, each one of these is going to have a specific cell function. Each one of those cells are made up of the instructions that came from the deoxyribonucleic acid inside of your body. And that's essentially, it's a sugar phosphate backbone with nucleotides that are attached. And they're built as a result of the carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, nitrogen, and phosphorus that have been assembled. And these are the instructions to make each of these. So if this tissue level is made up of all of these, well, that's because inside of this tissue you have the nuclei. You assemble these all together. They now work as a group, and now you manage to live. Now do that for all 11 organ systems at any given point in time in your life. Probably 10 more often than not. Okay, well, what are those 11 organ systems? Okay, let's take a look. Quick introduction here. Oh, we got to get out of the drawing piece. So, integumentary, skin, tips of your lips to the bottom of your puckered assholes, you are covered in an external keratinized, stratified epithelial skin layer, and it has multiple responsibilities, but you're going to figure those out as you're going along, but obviously it keeps the outside world outside and it keeps the inside world inside. Our skeletal system, when you guys look at it, you think, oh, it's just bones. When I look at it, it's a reservoir of calcium and phosphate inside your body that is assembled to withstand the forces of gravity. Strong enough that we can attach some things to it, namely muscles that are going to help us to locomote, and each of them is designed to actually have a specific articulation. Without those specific articulations, you don't move the way you move. Without those origins and insertions coming from, in this case, skeletal muscle tissue, of which there are 3 different types of muscle tissue inside the body, skeletal muscle tissue is going to pull on those. It's all regulated through your nervous system, and that's because you have a series of signals that are traveling in, up, processed, and then they travel down, and they process to now wherever the muscular target is. And if you can imagine, the structure of the muscle pulls on a bone, that bone moves, and as the bone is moving, it's dragging that integumentary system with it as well, and everything else. Oh, wrong direction. Sorry about that. Let's go here. So if we're inside here, how do we regulate the things inside of the body? Well, we have a nervous system that works really fast. So we use this thing that we call an endocrine system. Whoa, that's not what I wanted to do there. We use this thing that's called an endocrine system right here. And that's where we're going to make drugs, hormones, at specific locations that have their receptors at different locations inside of your body. So you can see the regulation is getting a little bit more difficult. To keep this all going, how do you actually get those hormones there? Well, you use your cardiovascular system. It is a conduit system. It doesn't just transmit oxygen and carbon dioxide. It brings materials to all of the cells inside of your body and takes all of the waste away as well. And the only way it can do it is if you actually have enough energy. And to do that, we have to ingest materials. Vegetarian, vegan, omnivore, makes no difference. You break that stuff up back into its monomers, and then your liver and the cells of your body create what they need to continue doing. You can't do it without a digestive system, though. Once all that waste has been collected, we send it now to our kidneys to purify the blood that's been traveling through the cardiovascular system. Materials we need stay inside the body. Materials we do not, at that particular moment in time, are sent to the bladder to be voided. It's not the only place to send it to, because over here, if we didn't digest it, okay, it's going to ascend, transverse, descend, sit inside our colon for a while, and then it's going to exit our body as a solid bolus of materials, as fecal matter. What exits here from the urethra, for either males or females, makes no difference, is going to be the urine component. And that brings up this point again. You're a bag of salt water, so all of this has to be regulated. So how are we going to do that? Well, we're going to survey it from the inside, okay? We're going to take a look at whatever the pathogens are that are crawling around inside of your body, and we are continually going to be assessing what's going on inside of your body. And that's the purpose of the lymphatic system, okay? Protect against disease-causing microbes as they mature and they proliferate. You have a limited window of opportunity here, okay? The last thing we need to do is make sure we actually get gases into and out of the body. I don't know why they put this all the way at the end. If somebody put a piece of plastic bag over your head and left it there for a couple of minutes, you would cease to exist. I think this should be more towards the forward of the pile. Definitely before these guys here. You can cut these out of your body, your reproductive system, and you're going to live completely fine. Okay, you may not have as much muscle, you may not have, the responsibility of being male or female any longer, but the reality is your body's going to be just okay. What does end with you, though, you can answer from the inside class. So how do we actually figure out what's going on inside the body? In this last couple of minutes here, I want to introduce the idea that long before we had things like positron emission tomography or even radionucleotides to blast through the body, you would actually just palpate and observe for changes. If somebody's presumably broken their left leg, if you palpate the right leg and then you palpate the left leg and there's any difference, you can figure out what that is. With the building of a stethoscope, you can actually hear different sounds inside of the body. Think about the last time you were at the doctor. Okay? Maybe they listen to your lungs. Maybe they listen to your heart. Maybe they listen to your gastrointestinal tract to find if you're digesting materials. At the same time, they may use things like percussion, which is tapping on the body's surface, and if they're hollow, like they should be, then they have a specific sound. Or they're not hollow. They're mucus filled. Therefore, they're going to have a slightly different sound. But palpation, auscultation, and percussion are all external, non-invasive techniques. But what are we actually looking at? Well, we're going to pause here, okay, and we're going to start the next set in a minute, only because we will lose your attention in a couple of seconds. We're already at the 15-minute mark. We already know you guys stop paying attention sometime around 6 or 7 minutes. Okay.